All right. Call this meeting to order. Finance Committee, March 6, 2023. Welcome, everybody. Commissioner Louis Alford will lead us in the pledge, and Vice Chairman Winters will offer the blessing. If you would, please stand. Allegiance to the flag, to the republic, which is one nation, under God, indivisible.
I would pray. Father, we thank you for your many blessings to us. Thank you that we live in a bountiful country. Thank you for the good things that you give us, good people who live here in Bradley County. Just give us our time together, be prudent in what we do, all that we do, glory and honor to you, to our
community. Amen. Thank you. Going to our agenda. First items, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor. You are recognized.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. The only thing I have other than what's on the agenda is your credit card report. Unless you want a more detailed one, quickly, fire department used it once, all good. Assessor, Stanley didn't use it. Thank you, Stanley. So it's all good. Sheriff used it 7 times. Once was locally, but they would only take a credit card. The mayor used twice, all good. EMA used 5 times. Once was locally for an emergency purchase. Unless you have more detailed questions, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
No, thank you, Mayor. Will say, I think we would be remiss if not show appreciation for your first responder. I think Friday everybody was a little nervous that we might have another, was it April 2011 or since then, the Easter storms, and luckily it wasn't as bad, but I think everybody was ready. I know communications were pretty good. I got the text messages, emails, so
ended up being mostly trees. There were a lot of trees down, some power outages, some till Sunday, but we were fortunate.
Yeah. So thank you guys for all that. Going to the agenda again, budget amendments. First budget amendment is from Bradley County Schools, $472,613.20. And talking with Sue, these are basically the last payments of their BEP, from what I understand. So this is money that they've already were anticipating. So no problem there. Do I have a motion from Commissioner Slater? I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Next budget amendment is $423,786.20. See the description down there, and she itemizes it for us all the way down to page 6, I believe. Yeah. Is that right, Renee? Yep. All right. Oh, okay, I apologize. So the next one would be on page 7. Thank you, which is $19,991. Increasing her revenue, increasing her expenses for vocational education. I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented. I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. That moves us to the next budget amendment of $18,360. Increase in revenue, increase in expenses.
What number?
Please.
What number?
Okay. Sorry.
Through 11.
It's hard to keep these because she has these supporting documents with signatures from the school board. So
page is 12.
So we go to page 12. Well, that concludes schools then. Very good. Next. Oh, please.
Page 7, $19,900.
And the total.
So that 19,000 is a subchapter of the full amount.
Grand total.
No, that's fine. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, confusing,
I mean,
isn't it?
this page 7 had no document behind it.
Usually what I go by, the end of the amendment is where you see Dr. Cash and Amanda Lee's signature page. That's usually, I thought was the end of it. That's why I was, this one,
So page 7 is standalone, there's no backup.
Ten is the backup for 7. And there's technically 2 amendments there, but the backup is with it.
just in
Just
time.
making sure you voted on both of them.
You
Susan,
just put them up.
we were talking about you. Yeah. Susan, can you come up just so,
That mic work.
sorry, nobody can hear you back there.
That's okay. So we send over the whole packet, which is what our board gets, and they get the detail ones, but they also get the summary ones. Which one?
Without Susan being here. That's why I introduced them. So we need to take up page 7. All right, so we've passed everything up to page 6 through voting, right, Lori?
We did
We
7.
done page 7? Okay, so page 8. Thank you. Sorry about all that.
Where does it go to?
So this is $18,360. She's increasing revenue, increasing expenses, money coming. This is for the Wi-Fi for in buses, a grant or something like that.
Yes.
I remember you chatting about it. E-rate funding. Have a motion from Commissioner Slater. Have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any questions? And if there's any questions on previous amendments, Susan's here, so. But Susan, just so you know what I told them, I think you told me that, the first amendment, which is the big one, was BEP money, your third phase or your last phase for what was already budgeted.
That's correct.
Okay.
We get a true up in January, and it basically comes in January because it's to allot for the insurance changes.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to add to any health insurance lines that we needed extra in, and to true up our salaries with what's left.
Right, so you knew this was coming in. Was it the amount you budgeted or projected? I was just wondering if the state was where they said they would be.
Well, we're actually amending the revenue. It is higher than what we projected during the regular budget.
All right, so any other questions on the amendment that we just, put in the motion? None? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes 5-0. That takes us past page 8 and 9 and 10
Tina.
and 11. That should be it. Those are all signature pages. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. I'm so sorry I'm late.
Ah, you're good. We'll just take it out of your page. Just kidding. Just kidding. All right, finance, 710,000 coming out of Fund 128. See that 128 right there? That's art money, and it's going into vehicles, into 128 account 58842, line 17 for vehicles. This is for the sheriff's car.
Move.
I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Any further discussion? Mayor, you want to expand on the timetable and what's going on here?
If you want me to, but a correction,
Please.
you should be decreasing fund balance and increasing the expense line.
Right?
Taking, when Art came in, it all went in fund balance, and then as you approve these
Oh, that's
what
projects,
it's
they
done,
get
yeah.
expanded.
It-
He
it
mentioned
increased.
timeline on cars,
So I'm sorry, Mayor, decreasing the fund balance
right,
and increasing your expenses, yeah.
right. Um, as you recall, what, 3 years ago, were they 3-year,
For you, the lease.
4-year, the 4-year lease program, which is a borrowing over 4 years, that ends in December. Um, so what this will do is we won't have to do another borrowing program in the name of a lease, save about $50,000 in doing so. We're going ahead and doing it now because he wanted to get 2 of the cars now, the detective cars, I believe, now, and the other 13 cars will be ordered in the fall to correspond with the end of the lease. They won't necessarily be replacing the lease cars, but it'll be the same number of cars. And then he has agreed that those 15 new cars, 15 old cars will come off of insurance and to be sold. So we're going ahead and do an amendment for the whole thing, so it'll be there when we do need it. We'll be ordering sometime in the summer for fall delivery.
So we'll basically prepay for 13 of them.
We won't prepay, but
Well, I mean,
we'll pay.
We'll pay up front and then wait a couple months for delivery. And-
No, we'll pay for the 2 now, then the money will be sitting in this line when you put it there. We'll have the money on the line, we'll order, and when they get here, we'll pay for them. But we'll pay as
Won't we
opposed
go
to
into
borrowing.
another budget by then? So
Yeah,
you'll
but
have to move the money back to the fund balance and then bring it back and. So that'll be a budget item. Okay.
or, for example, we may have ordered them in June, and we may have them PO'd, and it'll be carried over. Don't worry about that. That's the
I
day-to-day
was just
stuff.
wondering, I mean,
but-
because everybody sees the money come over here twice. And anyway, you're good. So 15 new vehicles for the sheriff.
That's the
but
plan.
Delivery by the end of the year. That's easy.
Yeah, the plan, the other lease, we don't get out of the lease until I believe it's December, so we'll try to get them around the same time. The delivery's a little bit questionable and the price at that time. We know what they cost today, but the price may be a little different then, but
Yeah.
this is roughly what it'll take.
So the lease program ends this year. We've already budgeted that. Exercise the option on the dollar, purchase them, and the other thing is this includes all the things that go with the squad cars, lights and
Right.
guardrails and all that kind of stuff. Commissioner Alford. We have a motion yet? Yep. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Thank you, Mayor. Next is the finance, $2,500. Increase in revenue, increase in expenses, money coming in. This is additional money for the lawsuit over in the election. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, if I could
Please.
add on that one, I think I'm correct from memory. Insurance paid all but the deductible, and the city covered the deductible. So at the end of the day, it's all taken care of.
Next one is Deanna Hewitt, Program Manager, 3,000. She is moving money from one line item to another to meet the cost of state required liability insurance for this grant. I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented. I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Next budget amendment, same account, 54250, $2,000. He's basically moving from 336 over to 599. Adjustment for lack of funds for equipment rentals and vehicle maintenance and repairs. I have a motion to accept the amendment. I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Then we get to Ms. Goodson, over in ag, 1,000. She's increasing expenses in here, increasing expenses. How can you,
Decrease.
okay, decreasing on the other one in the same account. She's basically moving from 307, 309, that 100,000 for her AT&T internet. Well, AT&T is going up on a lot of people I've seen, right? And can't budget. Anyway.
Nope.
So moved.
And you have to, I have a motion from Commissioner Winters, I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Mayor, isn't it what happens is when they go up and you have to pay it because that's the bill, but then you can get reimbursed back? What happened on that last one that was unbelievable?
That one last year, we contested some of the increased charges and we were able to get them back. We had to do an amendment to cover us until then. And I think I told you later on, we did get it back, but most of these, we're not even expecting to get them back. They're just increased.
Continuing on, she's increasing the expense, $180, increasing expenses, and,
We need to vote on.
oh, I'm sorry, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no, passes 5-0. Thank you, I'm sorry about that. Next to budget amendment, $180, still with account 57100. She's increasing expenses by that amount. She's decreasing over here in 335. So she's basically going from 335 to 347. Pest control, yet another service that's been going up lately quite a bit.
Right. You know, that was mentioned before about it going up. First
Well,
of all,
Vicky
you're
Town had it,
noticing them because we're singling them out. There was an increase, but there hasn't been an increase in 20-something years, so. In the defense.
Oh, I get it. I mean,
So moved.
yeah, Commissioner Winters makes the motion to adopt the amendment as presented. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Commissioner Alford, please.
Do we bid that out?
We haven't now. We've gone 20-something years without
I
an
understand,
increase,
I
so we
know.
haven't bid it, no. And now, after 20-something years of no increase, we still haven't bid it yet, no. It's hard to do because every single one is separate. So do you bid this $80,
Yeah.
$50, you know what I'm saying? So it's never been an issue because there hadn't been an increase, and now it's really not as big of an increase as it looks like, but now we've been asked by auditors to single these things out, so you're noticing money moved in the name of pest control a lot, because that was never a line before. And so that's mainly, I don't know if we haven't done it, I'm sure, take it and total them all up, how much the increase was, but I don't think it was from memory very large at all. But there again, after 20 years or 20-something years.
Is that the same company that does all of our buildings?
Yes, now we have used other companies when they had special needs at the Justice Center, but other than that, yes, I think the same company does all buildings, yes.
I just think something we may want to watch.
Yeah. I don't disagree. It's just, like I said, never been an issue until now.
Mm.
And, you know, it's hard to argue that finally you've done one after X number of years. So, but, you know, if it increases again, we probably would be looking at it. But I think after we get through this year, last year and this year, and you stop seeing these amendments, but that's the main thing, is dividing them up in all the different budgets.
Okay, next amendment is,
Vote on it.
Vote on.
Need to vote.
are you sure? Just kidding. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. You guys wanted a fast meeting, and I'm trying to provide.
I didn't.
You're trying, aren't you,
I
Mike?
didn't say a word. I'm glad to be here.
All right, next one, General Sessions Judge Clay Collins. He's decreasing expenses from travel, $50, and increasing his tuition. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. Well, Commissioner Winters. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Did you say anything? Motion passes 5-0. Next budget amendment is finance, decreasing expenses, covering the cost of electronic anchor. This is the cover that we talked about last month over in probations. This is one, just to add a little, that he will have in his own expense in the next budget. We won't have to do this kind of amendments in the future. Anyway, do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Misdemeanor probation is $199.95. He's increasing revenue and increasing expenses. This is from the state of Tennessee. This is, I guess, their portion of it. Yeah, all right. Motion to accept the amendment. I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0, and there's the check from the state. Then we get into Bradley County EMS, Sean Fairbanks. I guess that's, increase in revenue, increase in expenses, money coming in, $4,000. Oh, this is my favorite one, but I'm not gonna talk it this year. I'm gonna get moved. For blood draws. I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented. I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Next budget amendment, he wants to move money out of his $499 and move it over to $320 for dues and memberships for the Directors Association dues. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Now we're at EMS, Mike Guerin. Decrease in expenses, decrease in expenses, decrease in expenses, increase in expense. So he's moving from 3 lines into 1 into 335, basically $4,000. Move money to cover the associated repairs of the drain system in the bay at the EMS is currently a hazard and is blocked off. Mayor, you can chat about that here in a second. Once I have a motion, second. Motion from Commissioner Winters to accept the amendment as presented. Have a second from Commissioner Mason. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just so you know what we're talking about, if you were at Paul Huff Station and you were out in the bay, there is a grid that goes up the middle of the bay. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
water drains into. And over time, that grid had rusted out. It
Oh.
was a metal grid sitting in a concrete ditch. And by doing these amendments, we were able to get it fixed. That's been all, a lot of it was filled in with some fewer drains instead of just a solid grid. But anyway, it's fixed now. It was sort of a hazard, been like that for a while, but it's now fixed.
Very good. Next, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I was just, those opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Next budget amendment, EMS, and he is decreasing expenses by $84.79, and he's increasing expenses into $335 to cover the additional costs estimated for drain repair by KACE. That's the name we should know. Anybody? Do I have a motion from Commissioner? I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. This is EMS day. Next budget amendment, $89,859, decreasing the fund balance out of, 101? Yeah, EMS is 101.
Keep in mind, you're killing a PO, which means it goes into the fund balance. Now you're bringing it out of the fund balance to spend. Is that right?
Yeah,
So it's not like we're lowering the fund balance. I know that's the trigger, but when you kill a PO, that's where it goes. Now you're bringing it out to spend. And the ambulances that we ordered didn't have the power stretchers on them, so this is to pay for those.
All right. Yeah, but I'm gonna ask for something here.
Okay.
You make a motion?
Yeah.
All right, Commissioner Winters makes a motion to adopt the amendment as presented. I have and a second from Commissioner Slater. Mayor, so this 89,000, call it 90,000, was for, probably not saying this right, Stryker, STRYKER. But we also spent some money out of 189 for Stryker as well.
Well, that was previous year, I
But
believe.
I think,
but
yeah.
Yeah,
That was also a PO. I think we asked you clarification on that or something. So we purchased whatever they're the equipment for the EMS, right?
yeah, last year we had like $1 million of equipment we bought, and much of it was from Stryker, and it got carried over into this budget year, like we were talking about with those cars.
Yeah.
That's what's probably confusing you. This here is a new purchase to to equip the new ambulances with those
But
power lift, but And the EMS budget's very confusing right now with the POs because we're killing POs. For example, we're killing a PO for an ambulance that's not going to be delivered to next year in order to PO a different one to one that's going to be delivered this year. We've done that twice already, and we may have another one to do. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff happening. But at the end of the day, you'll have the two that you've got. You've got the van that just came in. You've got another one that instead of next year, we're changing the PO to one that'll be delivered this summer. And in the meantime, these two that we just got didn't have the power stretchers, so we're having to get those. But it's out of savings. So when we kill the PO, like for next year, we had an amount budgeted and PO'd, but by killing it, we found a different ambulance that's less and earlier delivered. So this is some of that savings on switching those POs. I
mean,
know that's confusing, man. It's hard
No.
for me to keep it straight too.
I mean, to a certain degree, it all is one big budget, but I guess, pardon the dumb question, I guess, but you made a purchase out of his line in 101, you made a purchase out of 189. So,
This ambulance from memory,
I guess my question, just to keep it simple and we can move on, is why not just purchase everything out of 189? And that way he
well,
can
the
that way he can
equipment, the previous one was out of the 101 budget, out of the ambulance budget. It was equipment. It wasn't big ticket items.
yeah, the other one was like 400,000. Anyway,
Which was monitors and things like that, may or may not meet the criteria,
Oh,
but we
yeah.
just did it all out of 101 at the time. This one here, I, yeah,
I was just trying to save money out of his budget.
yeah, I know.
That's fine. We have a motion and a second yet? Yeah.
Motion.
Any further discussion? Thank you, Mayor. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes 5-0. And there's your supporting documentation. Then we get into Bradley County Fire, so we go to Fund 121, donation of $1,500. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no, and we thank them for their contribution. Continue on with Bradley County Fire. He is $3,000. He's decreasing his expenses. He's moving money out of the fire fund. I'm assuming that's the fund balance.
No,
Wait.
it's going from 399 to
Oh,
335.
he's using fire fund, and I'm used to that being fund balance. Okay. So same account. He's moving from line to line. Easy. We have a motion to accept the amendment. I have a motion from Commissioner Mason. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Opposed say no. Can't even get that out. Motion passes 5-0. Continue on with fire. He's increasing his revenue and he's increasing his expenses by $13,260.85. This is a insurance check reimbursement. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment from Commissioner Mason? I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. And there you see the supporting check from the insurance company. Then we get into the sheriff's, excuse me, increase in revenue, increase in expenses by $4,608.15. This is a donation to the sheriff's department. It's going to child safety. I have a motion to accept. I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0, and there's your, see the check, and we thank Ms. Lawson.
Yes.
Continuing on, Bradley County Sheriff's Office, he has an increase in revenue, his increase in expenses, $86,400 reimbursement for post-in-service training. Is this their annual thing that they,
It's the one where we pay, I believe, at Christmas and then get it back
this
now.
is a reimbursement for our prepaid?
Right.
Very good. Usually it's a lot more than that, though.
So move.
I have a motion from Commissioner Winters to adopt the amendment as presented. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. There you see the check from the state. Continue on with Bradley County Sheriff's Office, $7,500 increase in revenue, increase in revenue again. that a typo?
Yeah, the second one should be increasing expense.
Yeah, she's got revenue twice. Okay, you guys see the, you guys
And
make the-
decrease that up.
Yeah,
It's
right.
increase. Right. This is decrease. This is,
because she's itemized the lines,
Yeah.
356 and 499, where she wants it to go, tuition and supplies. Everybody got the correction there?
Mhm.
All right. Do I have a motion?
So
Do I
moved.
have a motion from Commissioner Winters? I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Please.
Rest of them.
43? Okay.
40,
That's all the.
That's all
for that
documentation, so
grant.
we,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two
so
sixty-two.
the next page you should be looking at is page 63.
okay. 63. Thank you.
All that supporting documentation that I'm sure you read, because there's a quiz at the end.
Got mine.
Oh, we're in the services rendered.
Right.
It's through
So
63.
63 through 83?
89.
89, I'm sorry. And that concludes the budget packet?
At 86.
Oh, those are just corrections of the amendments? All right. So all we need to do right now
We
is
have
services,
those, don't
I've got them too.
we? Have 'em.
But anyway, get these out of the way first.
so we're gonna vote on as a package, page 63 through 89.
Right.
Services rendered, all one package. All right, services rendered, very good. Motion to accept, the budgets as presented, Commissioner Alford. Second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no, passes 5-0. That takes us to the correction.
At
I
37.
think so.
You should have the last two sheets, hopefully, adult drug court and veterans drug court.
We do, and, all right. 13,000? I know, I just wanna make sure I'm on the right, looking at
Right.
the right page.
He was the only one that didn't have them.
So when Lori doesn't have them, none of us have them.
Yeah,
How's
that's
that?
right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
All right, so just to make sure we're on the right page, it starts off with an amount of 13,000. All these are just corrections. We can take these, yeah, we can take these as a package as well, because they're just corrections, right? Just the accounting piece of this. Do I have a motion to accept the corrections as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no, passes 5-0. That concludes the budget packet, unless anybody has anything. Going once, going twice. All right. Thank you there. Close up the budget. Then we go to the agenda items. First agenda item is Pleasant Grove Lane Water Fund application and water test, pages 2 through 4. Lori, if you'll give us an update on where we're at and what we need to do, I'd appreciate it. And you, use your microphone. Oh.
Is the water test you requested at the previous meeting. So they acquiesced, they provided you what you.
All right. Commissioner Hughes, did you want to say anything? You were. All right. So basically, this came back to us. I appreciate the commission letting this come back there. This is the one we asked for a water test. You see the results of that water test. Cleveland Utilities has approved their portion of this project, so that we need our approval today, and this done deal. Remember, this is coming out of ARP money until we use it all up, or make another decision on water fund, right? All right, so we have a motion from Commissioner Mason to approve this
Well,
project. We have
I had something to say.
let me get a motion in a second, and I'll recognize you. I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. will you second it, Commissioner Mason? Commissioner Mason seconds it. Commissioner Mason, you're recognized.
I'd just like to put a motion out there that we pay for his $75 water test on here.
Test.
You want that as a part of this motion?
I do.
It might not pass, so,
Worth a try.
okay, because okay.
I mean, we pretty
Well-
much asked him to do the $75.
Right, all I'm saying is if it doesn't pass, in my opinion, I'm not telling you what to do, is it that what you're trying to do, it should be its own motion. Otherwise, the whole project would fail if we don't get the votes.
That's your own
So
motion.
you're including it into the current motion, right?
Yes.
You're-
Yes.
Oh, to add it all.
All right. So in other words, he wants to pass the project plan, the money that's been allocated for the project, and he wants to pay for the $75 test. All right, so you're making that substitute motion?
Yes.
Very good.
What-
Well, we get a second on his substitute motion. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Commissioner Winters.
What did the report tell us?
Lori? Yeah. So
That
the landfill's not contaminating his.
I just wanted said. Okay, yeah, got it. So it says that the water is okay, correct? Okay. And is that's the premise of the request, correct?
All right, so it came back clean, and the landfill has nothing to do with,
Could we ask Mr. Sherlin to explain to us,
if you want, yeah.
It's all right with you.
Mr. Sherman, would you help him out, Lori?
or Ms. Sherlin?
Afternoon, sir. Commissioner Winters has a question for you.
Thank you for being here, first of all. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hope
I-
County can.
The test came back with no problem with the water,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
And what is you're just afraid from the proximity to the landfill?
You know, we're so close to the landfill
Yeah,
is what we're worried about on
Right.
it.
right,
And whenever I got the water test,
right,
it come back and it was good.
yeah,
I mean, you know, as far as bacteria,
yeah,
that's all they tested was bacteria. And
okay,
it come back okay.
yeah,
But that don't stop me from worrying about it as close as we are.
yeah,
We get plenty of smell off of it.
right. Tell me where you live from the landfill,
I live on Pleasant Grove Lane,
okay?
and it's just
Is that across the interstate? It's across the interstate,
Across the interstate,
from the landfill.
No, it's on the side to the landfill.
The side to the
Pleasant
landfill.
Grove Lane.
Okay, I got you. There's
We got
Pleasant Grove on the other side.
Pleasant Grove Road and Pleasant Grove
They're
Grove Lane.
Right,
I'm on Lane.
okay,
I mean, I'd like to have it, you know, in case it does go bad and I don't know about it. We don't cook in it.
yeah.
I mean, don't do anything but cook in it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't drinking water. We buy bottles.
Right, right.
And all the time, but
Are you in a neighborhood? Are there other people in that neighborhood with you? Are you in a neighborhood? Are there other houses around your house?
anyway.
Are you in a neighborhood?
My daughter, she lives beside of us,
Right,
in a double wide trailer.
okay, on a list?
And there's one across the road from me
Right,
that's vacant right now.
okay,
But
yeah,
when they come through with the last water from the landfill side
yes, ma'am,
on
yes, sir.
Pleasant Grove Lane,
Right,
where the dead ended, they wanted me to pay from there on to my house. And it's just too far. I couldn't pay it. I can't pay the part from Bancroft Road over to it.
okay,
I live on it'd be the north side.
right.
of the interstate.
So you were wanting to have a line built to city water, or what? What were you trying to do
To,
with what were you-
trying to
the line?
get the lines through to where that we could hook onto it.
Right. How much did that cost?
Yeah, 'cause see, there's other property between me and Bancroft Road.
Okay.
There's other property between me and where it come in from the other side.
Right.
Of course, fourth district, what's his name?
Fourth district.
It's either Commissioner
Thompson,
Thompson
Mr.
or
Thompson.
Commissioner-
Yeah.
He said he drove through there, and the other day,
Right.
and he says they ought to be joined together because of the bleeding. But now I don't. What I'm interested in getting it in front of my property
Okay.
is
Mm-hmm.
what he's talking about is where they bleed it off.
Yeah.
It would be better to have it all the way through joining.
So,
And,
rather than just doing your property, to do other properties in there at one time.
there's some other property between me.
Yeah. Okay.
But now he's got, all that's got access to water. I don't.
Okay.
The man before he passed away years ago, he tried to get me to come across him
Mm-hmm.
with water get me a meter set on Bancroft Road. But I didn't do it
Yeah.
because I didn't want to do something like that.
Yeah.
And that's been maybe, when they extended the dump.
Mm-hmm.
And since they extended it closer to me.
Okay.
And that little branch that runs down Spring Branch,
Mm-hmm.
it runs between me and the landfill.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm that close to it.
Okay.
I'm close enough to I can hear the trucks unloading and all.
You can throw a rock to it, right? Yeah.
And I mean, that's the reason I'd like to have it. If something happened to me
Yeah.
before her, I'd like to know that she's got access to city water.
Thank you, Commissioner Winters. Commissioner Hughes, real quick, you visited this site, right? Right, and one of the things that I think you brought up when it was in full commission is that this water project is going to obviously immediately impact them, but there's the future growth area as well. So this water line is not so much for them, is future in the next couple of years. We've seen this before where one or two, maybe three households get the water line, and then the benefit comes from future growth. In that accurate?
That's correct. Mr. Sherlin actually owns quite a bit of land himself that could, after pass on, so could be subdivided out to different family members or sold outright. The same as across the street, the vacant house, that can also be subdivided eventually. It's more for future growth is
Yeah.
what it's looking at.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. So, we have a substitute motion, to include the 75 reimbursement on the, is that Commissioner Alford? I'm sorry.
Just one question, Mr. Sherlin. If, you said your daughter lives next door to you, where does she get her water? Off your water. So she's drinking your water. Okay. And the person across the street, do you know what water they use? Right. So basically, what you're asking us to do is run a water line in front of your house down the road? Is that what, Mr. Hughes, is that what basically we're trying to do here?
Mr. Alford?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alford. Mr. Sherlin, am I saying it right? I want to thank you very much for being here today. I appreciate your patience with us. You've seen this commission a little bureaucracy over the last couple of weeks. Sometimes we get it right in a nanosecond, and sometimes we have to sneak up to a solution. So I appreciate your patience with us on this. With all due respect, the $75, I'm not going to be able to support that because it's a precedence. We've never done that before, but the project itself, a $37,500 value, if you will, with engineering, water, and all that kind of stuff, I will support that. So I just wanted you to know why I'm doing what I'm doing. So, but again, thank you for being here today and your patience with us. So we have a motion, a substitute motion to include the $75 from Commissioner Mason. It's been seconded. We'll vote on that. If that passes, then we're done. If that doesn't pass, we'll go back to the original motion. So all those in favor of the substitute motion, say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Aye, and
Aye.
aye. So it's 4-1. It passes. Lori, if you'll, whatever you have to do to get Mr. Sherlin his 75 reimbursement, I appreciate it. Thank you again for being here, okay? And as far as the project timetable goes, you'll be working, I guess, with Cleveland Utilities and all those guys. As soon as this passes, Lori, did Cleveland Utilities already pass it on their side? Everything's good to go. So all the approvals are done.
Can I ask him one question?
Mhm.
Ask Mr. Sherlin. Mr. Sherlin, could you communicate back with us that how many other families could be getting this line? Are there 2 other families, 3 other families? When you know when that line comes out there, or let Commissioner Hughes know that there are other people that'll benefit from this as well. Right. Yeah, 2 households, sir. Yeah. Well, I know there's 2 here, but I'm thinking potential as well. It could be potential growth out there, and this would help them, is what we're talking about here. Okay. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Let us know. It'd be great. Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. All right, moving on to our agenda. So the next item is American Rescue Plan Act funds for the road department. I asked this to be put on here. The idea of striping roads, if you'll remember in a couple of meetings ago, I asked the road superintendent Collins estimating how much it would cost to stripe roads, and then he brought up reflectors are also needed. Thanks, Commissioner Hughes. You want to help? Okay. Thank you. So we have some leeway a little bit in the art funds, perhaps fund this initiative. So I was bringing this to the finance committee to talk about and get your opinions on going forward on it. Commissioner Alford, anything? Commissioner Winters, Commissioner Slater, Commissioner Alford.
Do we have any idea what kind of monies you're talking about there?
Well, he said how much, when I asked
No,
him how
I'm talking about in the ARC fund.
yeah, we have basically the mayor's given us an outline of some money that was moved around in the buckets the other day. Oh, I say the other day. What, about a month ago, Mayor? Something like that?
December.
December. How time flies. So there's some room in there. Now, we're gonna have to say no to something, because, I think everything was tied up. But, I wanted to bring it to the finance committee, and I respect the wishes of this committee and this full commission. But, I would like to see us try to fund some striping and, reflectors in the county. Mayor, I'm sorry, Commissioner Winters, and
No,
Mayor.
do we know an amount, that's what you're asking about, an amount as possible?
Well, the amount is, he said it would cost $1 million to stripe, and I hit him cold, so, I mean, I respect the fact that I did. But I don't think it's probably too far off to do that. What I've learned since then is that the road department themselves don't do the striping. They outsource it to a company that does this, stuff like that. And the reflectors, we talked about that, on that. Commissioner Slater.
So I thought when he was here the last time, he talked about getting some state money that he was going to use for that purpose.
If he's allowed to use the state money from that, they haven't finished that package up, from what I understand. And as I understand it, Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, when you get state grant money, the road has to be connected to a state road in order for them to work on it. Mayor, am I right or wrong on that?
Well, sort of. There are designated state aid roads in Bradley County, and this new money that's coming can only be used on state aid roads. And if he was paving a state aid road with that money, he in the past, and I'm sure in the future, will be able to use it for striping and that, but only on state aid roads. And normally you do that, as I was saying to Mylan, normally you do the striping and reflectoring when you do a paving project. So if those get done as the money comes in for state, then you go to the non-state aid roads. And he used a figure for all of them in one package. But even the others, we don't want him striping and roads that are needing to be paved in the next year.
Correct.
So what we're in essence, I think, saying to him is, we have some money set aside for you in ARP, but when you're doing a non-state aid road where you don't have that extra money and you pave a road, whatever the road is, if it's not a state aid road, then we want you to stripe it and put the reflectors on it too, and we'll pay for that.
Yeah.
Then you're back to a hypothetical number, because we don't know. But I've got to revise the ARP plan again anyway to handle this and a couple of other things. So I'll be bringing you a revised plan in April. I would just suggest, if you guys will vote that you want to fund an amount out of ARP for this purpose, don't lock it into an amount. Maybe we'll have a better amount when we do the plan. And once it's in the plan, as it's spent, we'll come to you with amendments like we did on the cars, the exact amounts. Does that make sense?
It
If
does.
you're wanting to go down this road.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to go. How about this, Finance Committee, is basically, Mayor, we have asking you to put together a proposal, and I'm thinking 500,000 is a minimum, but up to $1 million if we need a range of numbers. If you'll work with the road superintendent and come up with a plan and present it back to the Finance Committee in the next month or two, I'm assuming it would have to be in the 23-24 budget or something
Yeah,
like
it wouldn't
that.
be budgeted till next
But
year anyway.
how about we just ask you, we can take a vote formally asking you to present something in the near future that addresses striping and reflectors. Because you're right, it has to be coordinated. It's not like when we gave City Fields money and they were able to go do it right then. This has to be a little bit more coordinated. And obviously how the state money is going to affect that. So in other words, let you handle it and
Yeah,
bring back a
as long
plan.
as I know you want to do that, because keep in mind,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the state aid money is going to stay like it is. They're giving you, instead of $1 million, they're giving him $4 million over a 2 or 3 year period. And so as he paves those roads, he will do what you're wanting. In addition to that, as he paves non-state aid roads, you're saying, go ahead and do those too, and we'll pay for it here. And as he does that, we will amend it. So all I'll have to come up with now, and having another discussion with him, is what should I put in the plan?
Yeah.
Because there's not anything in the plan yet. I'll put it in the plan, and before I forget it, you will be seeing this water project one more time, because we'll come back with an ARP resolution to include this water project in ARP. You follow me? So you'll see it again. You'll say, why am I seeing that again? But you'll see it again.
That's been consistent with all of them.
Yeah, right.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion from Commissioner Winters to formally request the mayor to come back with a proposal for striping and reflectors in the county. You need a price range, a minimum of 500,000, and there's no timetable when you come back with your proposal. Are you seconding, or do you have a question?
I got a question.
Okay, let me get a second, and I'll come back to you. I have a second from Commissioner Macer. Commissioner Offer, please.
I think it's a good idea that we list that, but I have a problem with putting a price tag on it right now. We have no idea where we're coming from, whether it's 500,000 or $1 or $1.5 million or 200,000, whatever. I would think at the mayor, we should list it as one of our projects from ARP money, but I vote against putting a price on it right now.
I'm just, the price tag, in my opinion, lets him know that we're willing to spend that amount. And then in the buckets, just hear me out, in the buckets, he's got 3 buckets, probably 2, really, you can work with. And you can take a little bit from here and here and maneuver so that, but I understand your position. I mean, putting the price, but you understand what we're saying is 500,000, you can go here, and put it together, and that tells you how much we want to spend on.
Commissioner Offer, look at it this way. In the plan, you have money for a roof at the Justice Center, and you have money for HVAC units at the Justice Center. Now that we've bid it, neither one of those prices are right, but it was a ballpark, and that's all we have to have in the plan is a ballpark. And then once we know a closer price, you can always change it to be more precise. We'll be coming to you with amendments for the HVAC and the roof very soon, and it's a little different than the amount in the plan. But I still wanted a plan in there, first of all, to designate it for that project, and with the best estimate at that time number.
My thinking on it, though, still is that we may have some other projects that come up, and if we designate 500,000 for this, and you can't go back later and say, oh, I'm going to take that away from your road department. So we got another project over here that's more important right now. So that's my point about putting a price on it. I think we're going to have some other projects that we're going to need to put money here and here or here and here. And that's where I have a problem with it. I just think we're locking ourselves into giving them X amount of money and say we have a project come up that's a lot more money than what we might want. That's where I'm coming from.
All right, anybody else? We have a motion and we have a second from Commissioner Mason on our formal request to the mayor to come up with a proposal.
Could we look at this motion just a minute? Yeah, Commissioner Mason, if we put 2 words up to $500,000, that's up to that figure. That's the maximum figure we say can spend. But then we can also hear movement that if it's under 500,000, we're very pleased with it. Second, agree with that? Oh, were you the second, Cindy?
He's the second, but
I don't know. All we're saying is we don't know what it's going to cost. We can rescind the motion. What do you want to do? I don't care.
all we're doing is earmarking 500. We've earmarked pretty much everything from $21 million. We can go back to how much we earmarked for premium plan, all the way through everything that we've already expended. That's all we're asking the mayor to do is earmark that amount, come back with a plan on the timetable, how it's going to happen, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a little bit different. We have to be flexible on these things. That's it. If we have another project that addresses your concern, then this is about priorities. Then this is, I think, is a priority that I'm willing to. Willing to spend up to 500,000. He said $1 million for the safety of the roads. And if there's another project that we want to put street lights all the way to Hiwassee, it's a priority issue. Commissioner Slater.
So most of the money, correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, that has been designated has been spent with the exception of water and sewer.
Most of the sewer is
COVID
designated, but water is the bucket.
In the COVID bucket.
The what?
What did you call it? The COVID bucket or the?
Well, that's the one we'll be putting it into.
Oh, so it's going to basically come out of water. That's where it's going to come from.
It will.
Well, a combination.
Well, that could be a little bit come out of septic, the sewer, and then the rest out of water. the best we know as of the April revised date, which it could still be revised again. But keep in mind, we've got through 24, so we're also down to the last year and a half here. Projects will hopefully dwindle away here before long in order to get them done in time. But yeah, the revised plan will be moving money from those two places, making this bucket bigger. Does that make sense?
And, sorry. One second, Commissioner Mayor. And on that, Mayor, just an update from what I heard is that the bucket for the utilities, even though we had to approve it, it's state money and all that. That's the night we had all the utility companies. They hadn't even really gotten started on that, approvals or anything.
The utility bucket, Representative Raper checked with them last week when I was over there, and they told him that they had looked at the application. It's a non-competitive grant, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, guys, what's taking so long? It's non-competitive. Look at it. If we've dotted all the i's, give us the okay. And it's been 6 months and they haven't done that yet. So we asked them about it, and they said they looked at it. Everything is okay. We should be hearing from them soon. That's the utility bucket that we don't get. It goes to the utilities, but we had to do the plan on it. So no, nothing's happened there. The utilities are all getting yancy because I know Hiawassee bid back in the fall, and they're probably going to have to turn around and rebid now because it's been so long. But
yeah, so those projects, I wouldn't say they're behind schedule, but they're definitely not on top of it like we would expect when we did that. So they may go all the way to the end of the due date.
They will. That's because it went through TDEC, and that slowed it down tremendously, and it's still in their hands. But
A bit frustrating.
hopefully we'll hear from them for long on that.
Yeah. Well, if there's any updates on that, sorry, Commissioner Mason.
You know,
sorry.
I'm with Commissioner Alford too on not blocking in anything as far as big money, but I do listen to our constituents too. We need to probably move some money for our roadways. Our constituents they've come up here many months before now and talked about striping and different things. You can't, when it's dark and when it's rainy, you can't see the road. It's
Yeah,
dangerous.
all we're doing is earmarking. I mean,
Yeah.
saying that's it. We've done it before, so.
If we define this as up to $500,000, we're saying if it can be less, we're very happy with that, correct? So that's as far as, and that's what you're saying. I'm saying the
Okay.
same. My anecdotal on this, Blythe Farm Road, I got a call, it's in my district, from a young lawyer in town. It said, please stripe this road. I drive it early in the morning. And people come across, there's no line there. And I talked with the next day, talked with the person that was over our highway department at that point. And the next 2-3 days, she put the striping on there. And I think that saved lives, to be honest. And that's exactly what you're saying, Commissioner, that this needs to be done as quickly as possible. When you get those lines on there in early morning, when people are out on our roads, it's going to save lives. And that's what we're after. So whether it's 500,000 up to 500, that's my motion.
Mayor, you know what we're after, right? Okay, all right. Thank you.
Good vote.
All right, anything else? Look like you got something to say.
Do we have any idea what's in his budget now for that kind of stuff?
Well, the one thing about coming out of this is it won't affect MOE, maintenance of effort.
Right.
They'll send their invoices over to the mayor's office to pay out of there. So 131, well, they're not, none of this will go into 131 for expenditures. All right, thank you, guys. I just wanted to bring this up, and that's what we do, is we debate the issues.
Are we voting?
We need to vote on that.
Yeah, I know, just
Yeah.
give my save to give her speech. Lori, will you repeat the motion so that we all know, or Renee, somebody? So we. Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
say no. Did you aye or no?
It's,
Well,
Well, that's the point, right? The motion that you read just now doesn't include any money. I'll be for that one.
We said,
All right,
we
what,
said
good
500.
God almighty.
We said
What's your
500.
motion?
We said 500,000.
We said 500,000, Renee,
Not to exceed.
not. Commissioner Mason, that number's okay with you? You're the second on this. I just want to do this right. All right, I understand where your position is, Commissioner Alford, but it does have a number in there. All right, Mayor, you know what to do. All right, now can we vote? Everybody say, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Passes 4-1. Thank you, guys. All right, item C, budget calendar, see page 5. Budget request documents are due March 16th at noon to the mayor's office. The mayor's office will share the request with the commission on March 20th. If you want a paper copy or any part of the request paper, please let Lori know. Otherwise, you're going to get a thumb drive. Just wanted to bring that to your attention so there's no confusion on that Monday night. And we'll say the same thing tonight for the other commissioners because the mayor gives it to all 14 of us that Monday night. So if you want paper, let Lori know. If you're otherwise, you're going to get a thumb drive. It is a pretty big document.
Yeah.
I think we've all been through the budget request.
That's the infamous Bill Winters Red Book. But let us know ahead so I can bring them that night. Usually I tell you whichever you won't let her
Red
know,
Book.
but if you tell me ahead of time, you'll get them.
So I just want to make that because we will not meet again until that. So if you want paper, let the mayor or Lori know. If not, you're going to get a thumb drive to put in your fancy dancy computer. Next.
Finance, you ought to get the book. I'll be old fashioned about it so you can thumb through it and look at it. Make your notes. Right.
All
We
right,
don't want
so-
to print 14 books,
so
but you ought to
Commissioner
have it.
Alford, he's already telling you he wants a book.
Yeah,
So
Alfred
are you
won't.
just gonna bring books for finance
I
for
will
sure?
if y'all want them.
Yeah, I think,
So we need the 5 anyway. Well, she knows to print 5. Do you even want one, Mylan?
I usually don't. I get the thumb drive.
You'll sit there forever, though, thumbing through your tablet to get to the right page. It's a lot quicker in paper.
I didn't know you were watching. All right.
Yeah.
So 5 papers. I don't want to be the oddball.
Plus anybody else that lets you know.
Yeah. Although there's nothing wrong with the dump drive. Moving on, because I don't want to pay you guys overtime. All right. Ratio study. Lori, if you will bring up the PowerPoint presentation. We have talked about this, and it is time to get a better understanding of this. We're going to start the presentation here. And there you go, ratio study. Next slide, please. So the ratio study is basically what's going to happen. It's called the equalization. They call it ratio study. It is going on right now as we speak. The comptroller's office is basically in town right now doing their stuff, right? The formula is fairly simple. The appraised value divided by the sales price gives you that ratio study amount. That'll come into play here in just a second, right? Next slide, please. So I wanted to give you a few examples of why things are the way they are. So you see this nice little house here. According to the books, the assessor's office, that piece of property, that house, appraised for $233,100, and it sold for $375,000. Again, these transactions happened since the last appraisal program. Otherwise, it would have been other. So that puts that at a ratio of 0.62. Next slide. This one here, appraised at 168.5, sold for 229, and that gave it a ratio. And you can see the appraised value is what Stanley has for them, and the market, somebody wanted that house bad enough that they were willing to pay that amount. Next slide, please. Here we have appraised value of 302,800, and it sold for 459,900. That gives it a ratio of 0.65. As you can see, some of these houses don't need that. We got the. All right, Commissioner. So basically, what happens is they take, and this is just 3 examples, and that's all they were. It's just examples. but you have thousands of these. In fact, we have the list of all of the ones that have happened. So what the comptroller's office is going to do is take all of these transactions and basically come up with an average or a median, and therein lies what our ratio is going to be. We estimate, I say we, Stanley's office, because we have the same data that they have, and it's going to be consistent with other counties that are going through this as well. By the way, this is our year for the ratio study. I believe the ratio study for us will be delivered around April 25th, and take 1 or 2 days before or after something like that. But every year it's been at the end of April, and we'll find out for sure what our ratio is. Now, what does that ratio mean? Remember, we have on property tax, you have personal tax and you have real tax. Every 4 years, right now as it is, Stanley and his office, his staff, reappraise all these values. So basically, in this scenario, that 302 would now be 459. That makes it 1, right? But that happens every 4 years. On the personal side of the property tax, they reappraise, self-appraise every single year. So the companies and industries, commercial, send over their documentation to Stanley's office every single year. I think the due date was last week, the end of March, March 1, I'm sorry. So they have to have their documentation in there. They self-appraise every year. So what happens after Stanley does his reappraisal is we adjust the tax rate so that the county doesn't benefit financially from it except for the growth, right? So as you remember, we were at $1.78, and then after his last appraisal, we went down to $1.43, a big decrease in there. But we didn't gain anything with results to the net revenue. Again, I'm only speaking about property tax. In our budget, as you well know, we have different other revenues. We have sales tax, we have grants, we have fees, but this represents the largest portion, especially for schools. They're always, and you also get sales tax. So I guess it's 30 years ago, Stanley, the industries, we'll just leave it at that, filed a lawsuit basically saying, because we have to reappraise every single year, but yet the county commission or the legislative body doesn't adjust their rates accordingly to our new appraisals, we're having to pay more taxes. Then basically they won the lawsuit, and the state basically came up with this idea of ratio study to equalize it. And that's what's been going on. It hasn't been a real big deal because it's only been a point or two, but when we went back and looked at the history, the ratio was like 0.96, 0.97. So our growth was always much, much more than what the discount was going to be. But as we remember in 2019, it was 0.87. So the companies, I keep saying companies, industry, commercial, and public utilities got a 13% discount. Now it's going to be even more. It's estimated to be a 30% discount, we're going to have to take that into account on our revenue. The mayor is going to have to on his proposal and stuff like that. So I wanted to bring this to your attention now because you and I both know we're talking to our fellow elected officials and department heads as we get into budget, and they're doing their jobs by putting their requests before us. But we just need to keep in mind that this is going to be a very tough year with respects to property tax on revenue. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't bring this to your attention. Any question? I went through that super duper fast, but I'm trying not to bore you too much. But that's what's getting ready to happen. Questions, concerns, comments, Mayor?
I want to make a comment. In a nutshell, when I bring you the proposal with the revenue projections, they're a little duller than you're expecting usually. And this is one of the reasons why. People on the street are going to say that house is selling for $459,000. Look how much more taxes you're getting. That's not correct. So when this ratio goes into effect, it will affect the amount of increased revenue that we have for next year. And I promise you, it won't be what some of you and a lot of people on the street are thinking. We'll still have growth, don't get me wrong, but it won't be that kind of growth that looks like on paper because the state don't allow that with this ratio study. Just remember that whenever you're making promises to these departments. Oh, we got all this growth, we need to do so-and-so. They're not correct, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So in other words, we used to say in the Army, they give you $100 and take back 99. I mean, so we do have a lot of growth, and I heard an elected official the other day say, I can't believe it. I see a mega apartment complex going up over on Villa Drive. Surely there's up, but when you have to give on the personal property tax this discount that's by law now, it's going to negate your growth. Commissioner Slater, I'm sorry. Chairman Cry.
I've brought it up numerous times over the past few years when we went through this with Nova and Locker. We reappraise on every 4 years. I think we would, if I'm not mistaken, if we did it every 2 years, this wouldn't be an issue. Personal property.
Stanley?
Is that correct?
That was the next part I was going to go to, Chairman Cry, is what can we do? And I've talked to our legislative body, I think your association, the trustee, no, sorry, trustees, the assessor's property, is already talked about, and our consultant, Gabe, is up there. I did learn this in the last 4 or 5 months. Lori and I attended one of their classes Zoom meeting. 'Cause I asked him, I was like, well, if you have to adjust the personal side every year, and we don't adjust our tax rate every year, we do it every 4 years, why not have a tax rate for the personal and a tax rate? I mean, this commission is good enough, we can do 2 rates. But then you get into the fact that it's not allowed by the Constitution. It's in the Constitution, you can't have 2 rates. So that's out the window. Then I guess the CVU was mentioned.
That's a current value update. You're on a 6-year plan. The 3rd year through, they do basically, I call it, look at appraisal versus value, and they make an adjustment. That's only if you're on a 6-year plan. That hasn't been discussed.
Right, we would have to go to a 6-year plan to have that.
Then you have 2 ratios. You'd have one on the 2nd year, then you'd have a ratio on the 4th year, so you still going to have a.
But they wouldn't be as big because you adjust for the 2 years.
Right.
I mean, so Stanley, we right now at 4 years. Commissioner Cry, questions.
We spoke about this going to a 2-year, or actually we were just on a policy call before I came over here. 2 years ago, Shelby County, I went to the state board asking to go to a 2-year plan. You're either 4, 5, or 6, and the state board denied them. Of all the counties in the state, probably Shelby County could handle a 2-year plan. So that's come back up again. That possibly that they're going to challenge that, maybe get that, but it'd still be a county's option. Yeah, probably a 2, 4, 5, or 6 years.
So last slide real quick. I don't want to read the whole thing, but basically, I will. From a county budgeting standpoint, it is important to note that the equalization of tangible personal property, again, personal property and public utilities always reduces appraised value and assessments in most cases. In most cases, this document came from CTAS, and if you want the entire document, just ask Lori. She's got it in her office. In most cases, there's enough growth, typically, that's what I was just saying. Usually, we never have a problem with this. In most cases, there's enough growth, typically real personal property, new construction, to absorb the loss in value created by the equalization. In rare cases, imagine that, where there is not enough growth, the county legislative body, that's us, might be challenged with reducing spending or increasing the tax rate to generate the same revenue as the year before for the ratio studies. In other words, CTAS is basically saying you got to either cut or raise taxes if you're in a scenario where the ratio study negatively affects you. I thought that was interesting that CTAS would tell us that. Anyway, any questions on that? The main thing I wanted is, as we get into budget, here we are in March, we'll get the budget request here in a couple of weeks. We'll have our hearings, talk to the elected officials. Just be cognizant that it's going to be a tough year with respects to revenue. I bored you quite enough.
Could we ask?
Commissioner Alford and then Commissioner Winters, I'm sorry.
Yes, Mr. Thompson. You said Shelby County got denied, but they're taking it back. what if they did agree to give them a 2-year, deal? If we went to a 2-year deal, what advantages would it be for us?
Really, all it's gonna do is keep our values more current with the market, do away with that ratio.
Right, so we would adjust
way
our
people-
tax rate every 2 years, and therefore, the people, I say the commercial side, would basically be a lot more in sync with their personal tax.
So if we went that route, you could do it every 2 years, but you might have to have additional personnel to do it. How many would you think would?
I don't know, like I said, I've got, my experts are getting ready to retire. So I don't know. It's like trying to find someone that does this job. You've got to be working there 5 or 6 years before you even understand everything, even that. I don't know. Lou. That's a good question.
But if we did have someone available,
Yeah.
would we not save a lot of money that we lost last year? I guess lost. You might say lost. We'll probably lose a lot this year too.
I think it outweighs it. I mean, you could hire probably 4 employees still.
Come out on the good
Come out
side.
better at the rate values increasing. Now, if we go back and the bottom drops out, then the ratio may be 5%.
But I don't foresee the bottom dropping out in
No.
Bradley County at this point in time when
No, I
there's a
don't.
building going up on every corner.
Yeah. Now, something else I just looked at, we had picked up residential homes last year, like 505. They have a year built 2022, and like Mylan says, and Gary said, everybody sees all this stuff going on. They all might think that house is bringing in $1 million. It doesn't. It takes a lot of homes to bring in $1 million.
So if Shelby County does win their situation, do you have any idea when that might come up?
I would say it's going to be. I'd say it's a couple of years. It all gets into another thing. Shelby County's assessors on term limits, so he's fighting for it, but he may not be around in 2 years. So there's all kinds of factors, moving parts. But I know there's been a couple other bigger counties. Davidson, the Big Four, are looking at it.
Yeah.
It's not just,
So you're not saying it might be 2 years even before you get an appeal?
I don't think it'll be in 2 years, to be honest with you. It won't help us right now.
Oh, no, it wouldn't help us right now. I agree, but I'm just thinking of the future.
So I'm saying, like I said, if it goes back to state board, and all those folks are changing over there too, members of that board has changed. Could be in the next couple of years, but it's still on the radar.
So there's not any hope of going down to 2 right now?
No.
Thank you.
Did you have anything? Did you guys have anything? Chairman, let me get to Mayor and then back to you. Mayor Davis.
Just to comment, first of all, how many people would it take? There definitely would be additional costs. Whether it outweighs, who knows? But we're talking about twice in 20-something years that it was big. Twice in 20-something years. Additional cost would be every year for eternity because government never cuts staffing. Now back to the number of staffing would Stanley need. However many it is, it's more than he's got offices. So then you're going to get into those problems. I'm just giving you a heads up. Additional costs for sure, maybe for this year if it's needed, but it's only happened twice in many, many years. And it may happen every year because we are, sooner or later, those Californians will quit coming and paying twice for these houses. But again, if the bottom drops out and you still got this staff, you're going to, the expense is going to be there every year. This situation won't be here every year.
So you have to make an educated guess. All I'm saying, and I appreciate your question, is we need to know everything. 2 years you'll do an appraisal every year or every 2 years. You're almost in constant reappraisal mode. I mean,
we were just on the call, and one of the assessors talking about, I think, Montana, they quote reappraise every year. So it gets into factors, really just indexing. You're just looking at that ratio and applying it to everyone, and after about 3 or 4 years, it's just normal. As probably doing a ratio adjustment and then doing a certified tax rate. Not really a full-blown reappraisal.
Commissioner, I'm sorry, Chairman Cry.
I think the cost of a couple of extra people would be well worth it. You're gonna grow your office anyway if we had a downturn, what way growth is. We should consider sending a letter to our state representation to look into this for us and try to circumvent this Shelby County fiasco. If we might want to consider that.
What we're looking at, like I said, just on the call, what we're wanting to do is get to the people that see how much money is actually being lost across the state. So, we're just mentioning Shelby County ratio this year, they're gonna be probably $50 million lost because of the ratio. So we're wanting, as assessors, put real numbers together. Once we get, I just brought in a box of mail this big for Karen to keep personal property, so I'm catching it from her. Hurry up. But anyway, once we get real numbers, then we can say, hey, here's how much we're losing in Bradley County, but all these other counties are doing the same thing. I think 16 or 17 counties are the same ratio this year.
Yeah.
Once you put numbers out there, real dollars, then you might get some attention. May change the whole, how it's everything.
And I think we're saying the reason why I think there's some confidence in your estimate is two things. With the amount in 2019, the last time when it was 0.87, it represented about a $600,000 discount or loss, however you want to phrase it. If this is in the 30 range, that's twice what it was in 2019 plus inflation.
0.71 is where we're at.
0.71, yeah, so a 29% discount or whatever. And two, you look at the document that's on the comptroller's website of what counties just went through this in 2022, and you look at the counties that are similar to us, Anderson County, a couple others, and they were about the same amount. Anderson County just went through what we're going through right now last year. So this time last year, Anderson County, their county commission was going through the whole ratio study and figuring out how they were going to handle their discount as well. And they're pretty close to us and whatever. So that gives us confidence that we're about there. But plus the data speaks for itself.
Green County's turnover for reappraisal, and I think they're looking at a 41% increase at a reappraisal. Yeah. Polk County, they're in the 50s. Right. They're getting ready to turn over in Polk County.
Very good. Any questions for Stanley? Anything out there? Chairman Cry, please.
We're only dealing with just two firms, Walker and Tenova, and we're over $1 million, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, my goodness, it looks like we need to get motivated here on this thing.
Well, that brings up an interesting thing. That doesn't even take into account the appeals that are going on.
Yeah, still working with the...
Still working on appeals
appeal,
that we had to deal with.
Appraiser on week of the 20th, still walk through at the hospital. They've made an offer. We're not going to take that offer. We have our appraisal. We have the Walmarts and Home Depots. They're still under appeal, but that's pending a potentially court case in Hamilton. And whatever happens in Hamilton County will depend on what happens with Walmart.
So thank you, Stanley. So as we venture through the budget process, and we're going to get, I promise we're going to get, I can't believe this is happening. We just need to all be educated and understand exactly why it is what it is. And our friends in the media have been updated on this, so that everybody is educated on this and understanding we're not doing anything behind the scenes or anything like that. All right. Anything else? Mayor, you got anything? Commissioner Alford, please.
Yes, if I could ask Stanley to keep us updated on what you're doing and all that as soon as possible. You know, when you start getting information, I'd appreciate you bringing that to us too.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll kind of keep my own kind of posted when the ratio, it'll be April.
April 25th is what I was told.
But we're always tracking it. Karen's going to be keying in that personal property, and we get it in. Once we get the big companies, that's where you start seeing how it's going to affect us. The smaller ones, not so much. Big ones.
If you could keep us informed as close as you could, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll do it.
All right. Thank you, guys. And our next My next meeting will be April 3rd. All right? There's nothing else. Thank you guys for your patience. We are adjourned.